right, we're going to get started. So we're going to start today sitting with your legs kind of wide apart, vertical through your torso, and just take your hands on the floor, and you're going to point your fingers towards each other, round over your legs, and point your hands towards each other. They can even pass each other underneath you. And then sit back up tall, turn your fingers around to face the back, and lift your upper body up. You might need to bend your elbows to get your shoulders to open. And then do that a couple times so you're alternating between the fingertips crossing underneath you, you rounding your spine, sitting back up tall, spin the hands around, lift the sternum, lift the chest into a little extension. And a couple more times, round your back. As you round, you're trying to let your shoulder blades open away from the spine. And then as you extend, the shoulder blades open in the front, which means they get closer to the spine in the back of the body. Yeah, just once more of each, rounding the spine, crossing the hands over, and sitting up really tall into extension. And then reach your arms forward, round your back, turn your palms to face out, so you're letting your shoulders roll inward and your elbows roll inward, and then roll back and turn your hands more parallel to the floor. Turn the hands out. So I'm saying hands, but really I'm asking you to change the arm bone in the socket. So you're rolling one way and then the other. Yeah, feel free to sit on something if you're uncomfortable sitting like this. Rounding back, kind of massaging open the lower back. And rounding back and spiral the hands. You can't do this wrong. If you want to turn the arms up all the way, the hands all the way up, you can do that too. Just trying to get the lower arm moving a little bit too. And one more time. As you come forward, sit back up. Let your knees drop to one side into kind of a Z sit. Put your hand down on the floor and reach around yourself. You can be high, medium, low with your arm, wherever it feels good. Then you come back and round back. Come forward, push yourself around into that Z sit. Let your arm continue sweeping around. As you do this a few more times, find the places that you need to move into, those kind of islands of compression in your body, and try to get those areas that aren't moving this morning, moving a little bit more. Rounding back, push through the arms, sweep the arm around, open the front of the hip. Only rule is try to keep it moving so you're not just staying in one spot for a long time. Rounding and after this one more on each side, finish up even on both sides, rounding back and forward, swing your arm around and rounding back and forward, swing your arm around. Once you get back to the center, round yourself all the way down to the floor, reach your arms overhead, circle your arms around, turn your palms one way and then the other way as you go through this roll up. So rolling down, circle your arms around. If the full roll up doesn't work for you, feel free to go back into that half roll back, rolling down, trying to move through the lower arms. If you'd like, you can straighten the legs, internally rotate your legs just like you are your arms. Stretch over them. It just changes the way that you'll be accessing some opening through the lateral line of the leg. Let's do this twice more. Sweeping around. You can add a little pulse over the legs. And sweeping around, a little pulse over the legs. Roll all the way back down to the floor. Once you get back down on the floor, let your arms reach overhead. Take your feet still wide apart, but bring them in a lot closer to your pelvis. Round your hips under, roll your hips up into a big hip lift, shoulder bridge, press the hips up, reach through the fingertips the whole time. You can even let your shoulders lift up towards your ears. So you're really reaching your arms as far away from your knees as you can. Let one side of the pelvis lower slightly below the other, and then press the hip back up. So you're letting your pelvis rotate a little, one way and up and the other and up, and then make it nice and smooth, one way, up and the other, and up and one way. And if you want to add a little lateral shift, you can make it feel more like a figure eight. So you drop one hip, you shift a little to the side, up and over. That's too much to think about this morning. Don't worry about that. Little figure eights, trying to get the glutes connecting. Feel that push into the floor through the back of the legs. And then roll back down through your spine, all the way back down. Sneak your feet a little bit further away from you and circle the arms around. Flex your upper body up. And then reach the arms overhead, sneak your feet a little closer to your butt, roll your hips up, and then roll your hips down, come up in your ab prep. And keep adjusting your legs as necessary to make all this happen for you. Rolling up, rolling down, circle around. If you want to add the legs coming up to tabletop, you can. So you'd set the legs down, you'd roll the hips up, you'd roll the hips down, you'd connect the abs and lift the legs to tabletop. And setting the feet down, round the pelvis under, roll your hips up, circle the arms around, connect your abs to lift the legs. Good. And one more full cycle of this. On your next hip roll, you're going to get your hips up and keep the hips up. Bring the hips up really high. Bring the knees towards each other. So your knees are squeezed together. Your feet are narrower than your knees. Yeah. And then roll part of the way down and press back up from the glutes. As you roll part of the way down, it should feel like you're opening again that lateral line of the legs. Roll down a little bit. Use the glutes to roll back up. Roll down a little bit. Use the glutes to roll up. Just twice more. Roll down a little. Roll back up and roll down and roll back up. Push your hips up a little extra and open the knees back out to parallel. See if you can lift one heel or foot off the ground. With your arms overhead like this and your feet wide, it's really hard. If your feet are closer together, it's much easier. So you decide how hard you want it to be. Lifting one foot, trying to not drop the hip. You can adjust your feet to about hips width apart and it'll make it more possible. And just marching between feet, finding that posterior leg connection. And then lower yourself all the way back down, rolling down through the spine. And legs can stay down, legs could come into tabletop, or we can extend the legs, your choice, but we're gonna go into hundreds. So lifting the legs up, circle the arms around, flex up, pumping the arms, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling for 5 counts, nice and strong pump of the arms, and exhaling. And keep your imprint. If it's too much, bend the knees in. Keep sliding the ribs towards the hips. On the exhale, you could extend the legs. On the inhale, you can bend. Lots of options here. So hopefully everybody can find some challenge in this. And 2 more. When you're done with this exhale, stop pumping the arms, bend the legs in, lower your upper body down, set one leg down, and then the other. Then from here, you can have either one leg straight, both legs straight, both legs bent. One leg is going to come up to tabletop, and then you're going to try to extend your leg towards straight. Circle your leg around, nice big circle, trying to stabilize your pelvis as you do this. Circling around. kind of has a whipping motion. So around and around. And your thigh needs to be able to be vertical. So some of you are circling down on a 45-degree angle. Your thigh needs to be vertical. So bend your knee if you can't get your thigh vertical. Yeah. Reverse the direction. Or else you're just working your hip flexors in kind of an intense way. And we want to kind of go through all the different muscles that circumduct the hip. Should feel like some abdominals working. Like if you were doing this laying on a paddleboard, especially on a cold day like today, and you're trying to not fall off the paddleboard into the water. And then bend your leg in, lift the other leg up, and circle around. Circling, circling. And reverse your direction, nice and smooth, circle. Yeah, good, keeping the pelvis still, just getting your hips moving a little bit. And then you can bend your leg in, grab the back of the leg, or do a full roll up to come up to sitting, rolling up through your spine. Once you're sitting, make more space behind you on the mat behind you. We're gonna do our rolling like a ball. So lots of options I've taught you in the past, but we're gonna do kind of traditional version. So round to the back of your sits bones, lift one foot off the floor and then the other, squeeze your knees together. You can either just stay and hold this position, or you're gonna inhale to roll back and exhale to come up. And as you do this a few times, strong exhale, the second your shoulders hit the floor to bring you back up. Inhale back, exhale up. Keep looking towards your pubic bone. Trying to keep the shape the same. Your lower back is probably never gonna be as round as your upper back. You probably don't want it to be. It would be a little bit hypermobile if it was. So just you're trying to focus on smoothing out the roll, even if it won't be literally you're in a ball shape. One more time. Find your balance in the start position. Set one foot down, roll down onto your back. Imprints, lift the other leg up, go right into single leg stretch. One leg reaches out, and then the other. Exhale, and exhale, and exhale. Try to get the legs moving a little faster if you can. If you want to go double time, you could do one breath for both legs. Inhale, inhale, exhale, exhale. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Come back in, set your head down, just a little stir of your legs. Drop your knees over to one side, twist and look the other way just to open across the front of your chest, your ribs, through the upper body, and then bring your legs through the center and twist the legs the other way. Take a little breath there. And then you're gonna find a way to roll all the way over onto your stomach. I'm gonna bring the hands underneath your forehead. Once your hands are underneath your forehead, bring your legs parallel. They can be a little bit apart or all the way together. Pubic bone is down. You're just gonna float your upper body off the floor, including your forearms and your hands, and then get longer as you lower back down. So it won't feel like a huge range of motion. You're gonna think of reaching long more than anything else. Once you're there, you can stay, or you can keep coming up and down. If you decided to stay up, bring one elbow to your side. The arm can stay the same shape, then bring it back to the forehead. Elbow to the side, nothing else is moving. Elbow to the side, forehead, side, forehead. Just trying to get a little bit more connection into the upper back. Extensors, feeling like as the elbow kind of tucks into the side, you feel that connection around the shoulder blade. The legs stay parallel and in the same place. And 4, 3, 2, And last one, and then lower all the way back down. Just let your hips rock a little side to side, kind of shake your hips out, release everything, kind of noodly movement. And then bring your legs in the same position, that parallel position, arms in kind of a W shape. Now float your upper body off the floor, including your arms. Reach your hands out to the side, turn your thumbs up towards the ceiling, and just do a little reaching pulse, out and up, out and up, out and up, out and up. Trying to feel, again, upper mid back, shoulders, little pulse and pulse. Good. Legs are staying down. Try not to look straight forward because it kind of distorts the angle of your neck. You're looking down at the mat, but slightly in front of, directly below you. Then take your arms overhead, bring them back to that T shape. Take them overhead, back to the T. You can go back further towards your hips if you like. Overhead and towards the hips, and overhead and towards the hips. 4 more, 4, and towards the hips, 3, and 2, and last one. Lower your arms down with your torso lowering down, with the arms down by the sides. So then from here, we're gonna roll the shoulders open, let the thumbs turn up towards the ceiling, lift the chest, and then roll your upper body back down. And then if you'd like to add to that, you can let the legs separate and turn out as you lift the legs, the arms, the upper body, and then lower back down. Kind of like a piece of seaweed just kind of floating on the surf here. Floating up and releasing down, and floating up and releasing down. Try a big inhale to come up into that extension. Connect the glutes, float up and lower down. Last one, float your upper body up. Hold for a moment and lower back down. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Push yourself back and round your spine in the opposite direction. So you do a little shell stretch. You can move through it a little bit, meaning kind of like a cat, kind of shifting around in whatever way feels good to you. And then we're going to come to laying on your back. Once you're laying on your back, bring yourself into your imprint position. Actually, let's start with the feet down. So keep the feet down, bring your hands behind your head, neutral pelvis, lengthen through the back of the neck to flex your upper body up in your ab prep. Then slide ribs towards opposite hip to bring yourself across into your oblique. You can either stay up the whole time or you can lower down and lift up to one side and lower down and lift up to the other side. I wouldn't say one of those options is easier than the other. They're both kind of differently challenging. Either option. Across, center, and across, center, and across. And then if you'd like to add to this imprint and lift the legs up to tabletop, and same thing, come up and across, lengthen back down, up and across. And if you want to add the leg extending out, you can. If you want to take out the kind of pause in the middle, you can move from one side to the other without stopping. So it becomes more reciprocal. And 4, 3, 2, and last one. Come back in, lower down, set one leg down, set the other leg down. We're going to imprint again and lift one leg up to tabletop, then the other. Extend your legs towards straight. Take your hands to the outside of the knees. As you nod your chin and flex your upper body up, reach towards your ankles further. Go right into your scissors. Pulse, pulse, switch. So you're kind of splitting the legs apart and then splitting them further. You're not really yanking the leg that's towards you. You're trying to push the leg away from you more towards the floor beneath you while you're keeping your abdominal connection. So look down at your abs and make sure as you switch from one leg to the other, the abs don't pop out and totally disconnect. Reach towards your legs though, it will help you, meaning touch some part of your leg. Yeah. One more on each leg. And last one. And bend your legs in, lower your head down, give your knees a little stir. And then we're gonna roll onto our side. One long line through your side. Stack your shoulders, ribs, hips, and make your knees point straight forward. Start with point and lift and flex and lower. And I want you to think of the top leg getting longer than the bottom leg as you reach out and up and reach out and down. Reach out and up and reach out and down. As you do this a few times, check in with your ribs, check in with your pelvis. The rib cage should be right over the pelvis. You're trying to not let one part of you shift forward or shift back, that shoulders, ribs, and hips are stacked well. Lift the top leg up, circle the leg, trying to keep everything from wiggling around. If you need your hand on the floor, that's fine. But if you don't, get rid of it. And then reverse, 8, 7, 6, trying to get rid of the wiggles, straighten the bottom leg. Yeah, way better, Tom. And then lower your leg down. Lift the top leg up, lift the bottom leg to meet it, both legs lowered together. If the bottom leg is turned out, it's gonna wanna bend to lift. Keep your bottom leg parallel. So I shouldn't really see the inside of your ankle. I should see the top of your foot. Lift, lift. Marie, see if you can get that bottom leg more parallel. Lift. Yeah. And it means you're gonna be balancing on a bonier part of your hip, greater trochanter, which is why we all tend to bend it, because it's hard to balance on that little side of the hip area. And lift, lift, and lower, and lift. Yeah, and Gloria, see if you can think of, instead of your toes connecting, think of somewhere up in your inner thighs connecting. So you have to lift the bottom leg up. Yes, there we go, all the way up. Last one. And then lift both legs and lower both legs. Lift and lower, keep the ribs connected, lift and lower and lift. 4, 3, 2, and then adding our upper body. So leg and head lift, legs and head lower. Using your obliques to pull you up. So the top side of your waist is shortening to come up and lengthening to go back down. And I think it's really tempting to think of lifting from your head. Try to think of shortening ribs to hips, and you'll have a lot more strength in this position. You'll feel really different. Two more. And on the last one, we're gonna stay and hold and little pulse. Pulsing up, 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 and 4, 3, 2, and 1, lower back down. Bend your knees in front of you. Reach the top leg out. Reach the top arm out. Pull your knee and your elbow towards each other. Press it back out. So this would be easier to balance. If you want to take the leg out straighter, it'll make it more challenging. As it gets more directly underneath you, it's going to be even more challenging. Those of you who want to add to this, you can come up onto your, if your hip's down, you're going to put your forearm down. So you're going to be here, a little bit more work for the shoulder. And some of you might want to come all the way up into a side plank. Pull in, reach out, pull in. If you're up here with me in this side plank, you're trying to not let the hips shift around. So you're not here, but you're in a diagonal. Pull in, reach out, pull in, reach out, pull in, reach out. And 2 more. And last one. And stay, everybody come up onto your hands so you can go into a little bit of a side bend, up and over. And then lower your hips back down. And again, big side bend, up and over. And lower down. One more time, side bend. And lower down. If some of you would like to do the full side bend, you can bring your top foot in front of the bottom foot in this kind of strange position we only use really for this exercise. You could either come all the way up onto your knee, which won't feel like as big of a stretch as when you were here, but it's the preparation for coming all the way up. Squeeze your knees together and lower back down. And try not to sneak that bottom foot out from underneath you. The whole point is that you have to curve, big curve shape. Press yourself up, squeeze the inner thighs together and lower back down. And one more time of whatever you're doing. Start with the shoulder being really stable, so you're connecting that bottom shoulder and then coming up. And then lowering back down. Good. Swing your legs over to the other side. One long line. Stack your shoulders, ribs, hips. Make your bottom leg parallel and straight. Point lift and flex lower. Reach out and up and out and down. So there's no change really in the distance between the ribs and the hips as you're moving your leg, because we're just moving the thigh bone and the hip socket. So I don't want to see the pelvis collapse on the top side to lift the leg. Yeah, that's it. Out and up and out and down and out and up and out and down. And if it feels really easy to balance, then check in with that bottom leg and make sure you're really parallel. And lift the top leg up, flex your foot and circle. Trying to make it quick enough and big enough that it challenges your stability. Circling. And reverse. And lower the top leg down, lift the top leg up, lift the bottom up to meet it, lower both with control. Lift, lift, and lower. Lift, lift, lower. Good. Try to think of meeting your inner thighs or some part of your upper leg together, not just the feet, so that you're not kind of just doing one of these. And lift, lift both legs lower. Nice, everyone. And reach out through the legs the whole time. And then both legs are going to lift and both legs are going to lower. Lift and lower and lift and lower. A couple more like this. Reaching out to lift up, check in with the ribs, make sure you're keeping your back in the same position, not letting the top hip fall backwards to lift the leg. And then we'll add our upper body, lifting with the legs and lowering and lift and lower. Getting longer as you reach out through the legs and the head. Good. Pull yourself up. Think of sliding that bottom hand towards you as you come up so that you have the armpit coming away from the floor. 2 more. On the last one, we're going to hold up, hold there, and little pulse, and pulse, pulse. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower back down, either knees bent, propped up on the forearm, or all the way up on your side. Reach the arm and leg out, pull it in, reach it out, pull it in. As you're picking your position, If you're all the way up, trying to challenge your hip stability. So trying to not sink and move the pelvis around. So you're not going out further, then you can keep your hips in this diagonal. Three more. And last one. And then you can set the knees down, come up into that side bend, and lower back down. And make sure your hands and your knees aren't too close together, or else you won't be able to get your hips to come forward. I want you to get the hips all the way forward. Carrie, you look really tight. Move your hand out if you can't. Oh, maybe. Okay, well, you do what you need. And then top foot can turn out, or keep doing what you're doing. And you're pushing into that bottom shoulder, trying to squeeze the inner thighs together and come back down. So you're trying to get like the ribs to shift into a big side bend. So you start with the knee pointed up to the ceiling. Squeeze. And good. One more time. Some of you are making your own choreography up. I like it. It's none of the options I gave you. Yeah, that's okay though. It's Saturday. Okay, and then come to sitting again with your feet in front of you. Round to the back of your sit bones and bring your legs all the way together. So you're to the back of your sitting bones. Your hands can stay on your knees. Lift your sternum, so you're trying to look up and flatten through your upper back. So you're kind of on a diagonal, but your back is rounded. Yeah, and then you're gonna round down to the floor, reach the arms overhead, and we're gonna find that shape at the top. So you're gonna reach the arms forward, roll up to the back of the sits bones, stay to the back of the sits bones, lift your eyes, lift your arms, roll all the way back down. If you're struggling with all of that, if you have a towel or a scarf or something, you could use your leg to help bring you up, and then keep that leg in the air as you lift into your teaser shape, and then use the leg to help you roll back down. Feels pretty nice for the hips as well. Yeah, that's right, Tom. Yep. Otherwise, you're trying to find, either way, you're trying to find that articulation at the back of the leg. Yeah, that's right. And then lift the spine, lift the arms, and then roll down. If you're holding a towel, you're rolling down kind of away from your leg. Keep your leg in the air when you try to roll up if you're using the towel, so that you can push into it a little bit more. So we've been working on our teasers here. You want to add to this teaser, you could extend one leg towards straight, keep the knees squeezed together, and you're working towards having the mobility and the balance to be able to have both legs straight eventually. If you're doing one leg, alternate between sides. We've got about 2 more after this one. And last 2 of whatever you're doing. If you have the towel behind one leg, switch it to the other leg. And last one, roll up, back of the sits bones, lengthen the spine, rolling all the way back down. Bring your legs back in. Bring your feet in line with your sit bones, nothing underneath your head. Press your hips up until you're in a long line between your shoulders or upper back and your knees. And then crease at the front of the hips to lower back down. So you're just changing the hip joint to go up and down a few times. Keep the legs parallel. And if you'd like, come up in that little hip lift. Try to lift one foot off the ground. Feel that hip, glute, back of the leg connection turn on like we were doing earlier. Alternate between legs and then lower your hips back down. If you'd like to do the full version of shoulder bridge with me, I'll cue you through it. So we press the hips up, Extend one leg towards the ceiling, lower down, lift up 3 times. Try to keep that standing glute working to push the hips up the whole time. On your last one, you bend your leg and set your foot back down. Other leg lifts up, down and up. 2 and 3. And bend your leg, set your foot down. Let's do one more set each side. Extend the leg, down and up. 2, trying to move through your ankle and your whole foot. And bend the leg, set the foot down. Last time, down and up. 2 and 3. Bend your leg, set your foot down, flex at the hips. We're gonna do one more set of those, or keep doing one of those preps we were working on. Lift up, extend one leg, down and up. If you want it to be harder, reach the arms up to the ceiling. Set your foot down and down, up. 2 and 3. Bend your leg, set your foot down and up. 2 and 3. Bend your leg, set your foot down. Last time, down and up. 2 and 3. Bend your legs, set your foot down, flex your hips, lower your hips all the way back down. Awesome. Roll onto your stomach again. Turn your legs out to the corners of the mat. Reach your arms overhead and turn your palms to face in towards each other. You're in a narrow X shape. So connect your abdominals like there's a little blueberry under your belly button. You're trying to not squish. Reach out through one leg and the opposite arm to float that arm and leg away from the floor a little bit, and then lengthen it to come back down and out. Reach out through the arm and the leg to lift, and reach out and down, and reach out and up, and reach out and down. If some of you would like to do the full version of swimming, you're welcome to, where you'd float both arms and legs off the ground, and then you'd be staying in that hover, trying to go as fast as you can, alternating between opposite arm and leg, so that crisscross pattern across the upper body. Inhaling and exhaling to help you. And one more moment here, whatever you're doing. Good. And then lengthen and lower all the way back down. Bring your hands back to your shoulders. Push yourself back into a shell stretch. Round through your back. Good. Come onto your hands and knees. Hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. And just round your back up towards the ceiling. Push yourself into a cat stretch. If you shift your weight slightly back, you'll feel a little more opening through your low spine. And then lengthen back out to one long line. And then again, round your back, scoop the belly up, stretch the low spine open. And then lengthening back out one more time. Rounding your back, scoop. And then lengthen all the way back out. From here, you're going to reach one arm and the opposite leg out onto the floor, then up. Then you're going to bend your elbow and knee like you're bringing your elbow and knee under you, but stay in neutral and reach back out. So you're staying in neutral spine, elbow and knee bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Trying to find the stability around that standing shoulder and hip. And last one. And bring that arm and leg in. The other arm and leg reach out and up, bend, swing it out. Kind of open the back of the knee. Two more. And then bring your arm and leg back in. Good. From here, you're going to keep your knees down for a minute, your hands down, and just imagine you have 2 pencils on your sit bones and you're trying to draw a circle on the wall behind you. Just find that circling motion through your pelvis. So mostly I care about the pelvis moving. from the rib cage down. And then reverse the direction of your circles. And then come back to the center. So then you're going to try to reach one leg out behind you. And imagine your leg is part of that movement of the pelvis. So you're trying to circle your leg around like it's your tail. If you feel like you don't have any room to move, you can go down onto your forearms. So your pelvis is moving around. Should feel kind of nice, but like there's some hip work happening here. Yeah. As long as your leg's in the air and you're trying to move your pelvis, I'm happy. Reverse if you haven't. Circling around. Your leg is like a big tail. Around and around and around. Last two. And then bring the leg in. The other leg can reach out. Now it's your tail. And you're going to circle your pelvis around. Yeah, exactly. If it's too confusing, you could try just circling the leg, or you could go back to both knees being down and reverse, circling around. And last one, bring your knee back in, sit back, just stretch your back. And then everybody come onto your forearms. Reach one leg out behind you. Rotate your pelvis to the side as much as you can while still keeping your your arms down. Flex your foot and 2 kicks to the side. Point your foot as your leg goes back behind you. 2 kicks to the side. It's like we're flipping our side kick into a different plane of motion. 2 kicks. It's kind of going to go down as you kick forward or to the side and up as the leg comes behind you. Yeah, a little bit one way and the other. You should mostly feel this in the standing hip. Last 2. And last 1. And then bring your leg down. Reach the other leg out behind you. Rotate the pelvis. 2 kicks. Try to keep the pelvis from moving around. 2 kicks to the side. 1 lifts back behind you. Kick, kick, sweep the leg behind you. Kick, kick, sweep the leg behind you. 4 and 3 and 2. Last 1. And then set your leg down and take a breath. And then we're going to come back to sitting. Bring your hands to your forehead. Your legs can be wide apart if your hips tend to be tight. So you're going to round back part of the way back just before you tip all the way over and fall over. Hands are at your forehead. Then you're going to bring your hands to your forehead, your forehead and hands to your knees and stack up from tail to head. So this is called neck pull. You're not literally pulling on your neck. You're rounding back. Stay there, take a breath. Bring your forehead and hands towards your knees, round, and then stack up to vertical. And rounding back. Inhale, stay. Exhale, come forward, hands towards the knees, and stack up to vertical. If you want to add to this, roll all the way down, but you got to get back up, which is harder than the roll up. So if you can't do the roll up, then probably don't roll all the way down on this one. Rolling all the way down and bringing yourself towards your knees, stack up to vertical and rounding down. Yeah, roll through the spine. Come forward over the legs. That's good, Elise. And up tall, lengthening. One more of the full one, two more of the half ones. We're all gonna meet all the way down on the floor, laying on our backs. Good. Okay. So once you get back down, you're gonna imprint and keep your imprint. Flex your upper body up and reach your hands towards your knees. This kind of building blocks. Bend your arms like you're taking off your hat. Keep your arms in your peripheral view and circle your arms around. Bend your arms, take off your hat, circle around. 3 more. Take off your hat, circle around, take off your hat. And last one, take off your hat, circle around, lower back down. So we're gonna add that to both legs moving. This will be called double leg stretch. If you don't wanna add the legs, feel free to do what we just did. So legs come up to tabletop, hands go to the outside of the knees, nod your chin, flex your upper body up, legs and arms go away from each other, you circle around. So it's like a 3 count. Reach out, 1, circle around, 2, 3, reach out, 1, circle, reach out, circle, reach out, circle. 2 more. And last one. And then lower your upper body down, set one leg down, set the other leg down, and stay laying on your back. Bring your feet about all the way together. And then you're going to step 1 foot away from the midline, then the other foot away, then towards, part, apart, together, together. And as you start to go a little faster, kind of have a pounding so that we're kind of doing a little stimulation for our soft tissue and our bones. And then come back to the center and switch which leg you initiate with. So I was going right, left, right, left. Now I'm gonna go left, right, left, right. And I think you probably can hear me pounding. It should make a little bit of noise because you're not just kind of placing your feet, but you're actually putting weight into them and kind of letting them pound a little bit. Hopefully nobody lives below you. And then we're going to come back to the center. We're going to do that again with that pelvis hovering ever so slightly off the floor. So if you think of helium balloons attached to the front of the hips, your butt might look like it's still touching, but you should be able to have a little clearance with the floor. And then apart, apart, together, together. Body isn't moving around. And you try to pick up the pace. You should feel a lot more back of the legs. Apart, apart, together, together. Apart, apart, together, together. Go faster. And then take a break. Hover the hips back up and apart, apart, together, together. And then go faster. And then come back to the center and rest. Awesome. So from here, we're going to do a rollover prep. So you're going to imprint, lift one leg up to tabletop, then the other. Take your knees apart like a diamond shape and cross one ankle over the other. So to begin with, we're keeping this short lever, bent knee position because I don't want you using leverage. I want you to figure out how to connect your abdominals to do this. So you've got your imprint. You pull in your abs so much that it slightly flattens the curve of your lower back and deepens your imprint. You could do this all day by just like kicking and swinging your legs around, but if you keep the legs in the same shape, it won't feel like you move probably very far, but it should feel like your abs are working. Yeah, exactly. And then switch the crossing of the ankles. Some of you know the full rollover. You're welcome to do it. You're welcome to try it as well, as long as you don't have things going on with your back. It wouldn't be advisable. So I'll cue you through that. Otherwise, keep doing the prep. The legs reach out on the long diagonal to straight, hinge at the hips, roll over, pressing the legs up and over into that inverted position. Separate the legs and then roll back down. Once the legs are on the diagonal, they come back together. I don't often do this full rollover in group mat classes, but you guys have all been coming for a long time, and there are a few of you that want to do the full. Good. Yeah. Last one, whatever you're doing, hug your legs into your chest, give them a little rock from side to side. And then you're going to come over onto your hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, but legs all the way together, toes tucked under. Leg pull front prep, so floating the knees off the ground as low as possible in your abdominal connection. Take a couple breaths there, holding, and then set your knees back down. You can stay with that version, or you can take your hands further away from your knees, and as you press your legs up, come all the way up into your full plank, hold your full plank. Some ways I think that's easier. It's harder on the arms, easier on the abs, and set your knees back down. Each time you come up, straighten the legs, try to connect the back of the legs, glutes and hamstrings, push the floor away, keep your shoulders really connected, and then set it back down. Twice more of whatever you're doing. Nice, Chandra, that looks great. Press your hips open. And last one, push yourself up into your plank. If you'd like to stay, you can stay, or set the knees down. For your push-ups, you're gonna go down, further, further, press up. Down, further, further, press up. Last set, 2, 3, press up, set your knees down, shift your weight back, stretch your arms out. Take a breath. We're gonna go do one more set of those push-ups with the elbows pointing more straight back, so it's a little more emphasis on the triceps. So come forward into your plank or your kneeling plank, and elbows go back, down, and press up in one count. Down, 2, 3, press up. Feel even weight through both arms. Do one more for good measure. And sit back towards your heels. Take a stretch. And then I'm going to let you choose for the third set if you do the first option or the second option, either elbows going slightly out, which is a little more pec, or elbows slightly back, which is more tricep. Here we go. And down, further, further, press up. Down, further, further, press up. And down, further, further, press up. Sit back towards the heels. And then come forward onto your hands and knees. Take and thread one arm underneath and rotate and twist yourself around. So you're not just laying on the floor, you're trying to reach further into rotation and then bring your hand back underneath you and go the other way. So like kind of crawl your fingers under more, and you're just hinging at the hips, twisting, walking your hand under, yeah. And you can touch the floor if that helps you to get more rotation, but try not to just collapse into the floor. One more each way. Big twist. Try to look up to the ceiling. And last one, big twist. Try to look up to the ceiling. And then come back to the center. To center everything back off, hinge at your hips to sit back towards your heels. Scoop cat back to come back forward and up. So you're just finding this big undulation of the spine. Hinging at the hips, sitting back, opening the sits bones. And opening the sits bones, sit back. Scoop and lift up one more time. Opening the sit bones, feel like you're fanning the pelvis open in the back of you. And coming back up. You can sit back onto your heels into your shell stretch. The arms can just reach forward. You can let your forehead rest onto the floor or onto your arms. Take a few breaths here, just kind of letting all the energy that's zinging through your body kind of solidify here. And then you can roll up and You're all done. Awesome work. Good job.